This is Photoshop from the Ground Up podcast. I'm designer and photographer Peter Law. In this episode, we're going to look at one of the most exciting adjustments inside of Photoshop. That's the levels command. And the levels command is sometimes a bit of an aha moment for photographers because it really makes a tremendous difference in almost every photo that you can throw at it. I'm going to start here with a grayscale image, and then we're going to move on to color just because it's easier to explain first in grayscale. So I'm going to go up to my image menu, and I'm going to choose Adjustments and come down to Levels. Now when the Levels dialog box opens, you get this histogram. And if you're intimidated by this, don't worry, it's not that bad. What we have here is actually a bar graph in a grayscale image. There are 256 possible shades of gray, well, black being one and white being one, and 254 other possibilities. And this is basically a list of how many pixels are in each of those particular shades. So right here is black, right here is white, here's the middle, and this is everything in between. So right now we can see that there are no black pixels because there are no pixels on this edge of the graph. We can see there are no white pixels because there are no pixels on this edge of the graph. We can see there's a lot in sort of the low mid-tones area because if this is the midpoint right here, this is a little bit darker than mid. So what we have here are these sliders here that allow us to remap what black and white are. So I'm going to grab this slider and I'm just going to start pushing it higher and higher and higher and higher. And you'll notice that the image starts to get darker and darker and darker. In fact, a lot of the image has gone completely black. When I'm moving the black slider, everything to the left of this black slider is going to be black. So all the pixels that were these particular shades here, so everything that was basically mid-tone or darker has gone completely black, while everything else is, between there and white. I'm going to back that off, and I'm going to try this with the white slider. I'm going to move this forward, up and up and up and up and up. As I move it to the left, you'll notice that the image starts to turn white in areas. And that means that all these pixels that are represented right here have turned completely white, and everything over to the left of that is some shade of gray between white and black. I'm going to back those off. When I'm adjusting an image, what I typically want to do is I want to move this black slider over until just about where it touches the edge of the pixels, so that the darkest pixels in the image are black. And I'm going to take this white slider and I'm going to move this over here until the brightest pixels in the image are white. Now, if there are, if the sun's in the picture or something like that, I'm just going to keep going past it because the sun is going to be blown out no matter what I do. Or sometimes there'll be spectral highlights, which is just basically reflections of light sources off of shiny things like the rims of glasses, or sometimes reflections on cars or water or something like that. And sometimes it doesn't really matter if those things blow out. And then when I've set my black and white points, then I can use this mid-tone slider to set the overall brightness of the image. Now I've got a little trick I want to show you here. If you hold the Option key on the Mac or the Alt key on the PC and you slide this over, you'll notice that suddenly it turns white and everything starts to turn black as we move it up here. So this shows me all the pixels that are being clipped to black. So if I move that up and just back it up a little bit so that the black pixels just kind of vanish there. And I can do the same thing over here, only now they turn black and then they'll turn white as they bring things up. And I want to make sure that I don't blow out any significant details. There we are. And then I'm just going to move this around to kind of figure out what exactly, I'll put it right about there. And here's our before and after. Before and after. You'll notice that this is just a much snappier looking picture because now we're maximizing the dynamic range. Now we have these output sliders, but I'm not really going to go into these. These are really more for pre-press. Suffice it to say that if I move this up, that's actually going to keep, that's basically going to say black now maps to this shade of gray instead of to black itself, which, if you're sending something to press, this can help keep things from getting gobbledygook. But that's really something that takes place on the pre-press end of things, not usually so much on the photographer's end. So I'm going to click OK, and then we're going to go over to a color image right here. Right here. Now, you may have noticed that I've switched back and forth. I have two tabbed images, and if yours don't look like that, you might have floating windows that look more like this, but I have just docked mine up here at the top, and I shouldn't have done that. I should have Now I've lost my images. Hold on a second here. I'm just going to dock these together here. Shows you how much I actually do this kind of work. Usually I keep everything docked in tabs at the top. Here we are. Okay, I'm going to go Image, Adjustments, and Levels. Now this is a color image, of course, and right here in the channel pull-down menu I've actually got RGB, which is going to adjust all 3 channels at the same time, or it can adjust it on a channel-by-channel basis. So I'm going to select red, and I'm holding my Option key. That would be an Alt key on the PC to actually see where things start to clip. Just that. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to adjust my greens, and then I'm going to adjust my blues. Now you'll notice that things are looking really awful right now, and that's fine. Okay, there we go. So that's what I had before and after. Before and after. I think I'm going to look here. Where's my greens here? I think I'm going to push that up a little bit closer there. Yeah. So before and after. Now you'll notice that that actually corrected a color cast that the image has. The image has a bit of a magenta color cast to it right here. And when I've increased the contrast, when I do this on a channel by channel basis, that oftentimes will fix improper white balance inside of images. So it's a good idea to do that on a channel by channel basis when you're doing this to a color image.